So the overall plan for today's, Ahmad and I are going to kind of introduce to you the gaming topic by having you play. We're trying to walk the walk instead of talking the talk today. So so we're gonna have you play a game that we invented on Tuesday. So so hopefully it works. You guys are our guinea pigs. This is our first iteration of this gaming about gaming online in the classroom. So very meta. So you know, we'll see how it goes, but basically, so the idea is to maybe I should share. Should I share the screen? So the two documents that you're going to need to do this activity are actually in the chat. So if you don't have your chat open, maybe open the chat, because you'll need to access those documents through your own computer anyway. But I'm going to share my screen right now, and I will show you just to guide you through the activity and what you're meant to do. And we will put you into groups to make that happen. Jump in anytime, Ahmad, if I miss any big instructions. I'm gonna lose kind of seeing all of you. So yeah, so basically this is the article that you'll see, and some of you read it, some of you didn't. You can see that we, Ahmad and I kind of went through, rather than, we knew that some people wouldn't maybe have done their homework, and we weren't expecting you necessarily to do your homework. So what we did is we went and highlighted different sections of the article that we thought were kind of the most relevant and interesting for this activity. So if you go along and you click on each individual section, you'll see a highlighted section. So your task is going to be, and you can read, you know, the highlighted sections as much as possible, but in your groups to choose one or two, or I think, did we say at least two, Ahmad? Hold up two fingers. Say two, at least two. We'll try two. We'll try for two of those, or we could, yeah, anyway, because we didn't maybe know how many people we would have, so we could potentially do one per group and have smaller groups and more groups. I don't know, we can figure it out anyway. But you're going to choose and read that little section, and then you're going to go over to this other document. So you should have access to this document through the chat, and then this document, everybody can see my screen here, the GDocs. Should I make it bigger? Yes,
it's fine. I can see it.
Perfect. So I'll just make it a little, oh no, go smaller if I try to do that. So what if I put it in present mode? There we go. So so this is our game. This this G Slides document is where the game is going to happen. So basically, and these are just two of the kind of the main themes. The document is, the article is really kind of a game game-based foundations kind of theory article. So it gives you the foundations. There's a ton of research out there, but this kind of sums up and talks about the rationale, motivations, etc., for using gaming in the classroom. So the activity in the game, and I'll move you guys out of the way so you can see, is to read the highlighted parts. So that's the paper we're just looking at. Select your ideas, and then in your groups, we're going to send you into breakout rooms to write an allegory, humorous. That's Ahmad's insistent. It has to be funny. No, it doesn't have to be funny, but you know, great if it can be funny, with animal characters that demonstrates the content or the idea, the concept in that small highlighted section. Not using the terms from the actual section. So, and then it's the other participants' job when we come back, then that's where the gaming part will come in, is to try to have the other participants guess which of the elements you were trying to demonstrate with your allegory. Does that make sense to everybody? I'm seeing mostly, I can't see everybody, so I'm seeing nods, but okay. And then, so once you're into the groups, so this is, Ahmad, are we going to do the role play here? We're going to show them? Do you want to explain your activity? Because this is we put this slide in as a demonstration. This is something that Ahmad does in his classroom, and do you want to explain it?
So no, exactly. So thank you, Cathy. That was pretty complete. So basically, the idea is this is called a storytelling game, and the storytelling the game is to construct a story, and the trick basically in terms of the design of it is to provide some details for the students to kind of entice them. So you could say just a story, but we made it an allegory with animal characters. You might be like, why? The answer is why not? So the whole thing is just one of the aspects of gaming it is to provide some details. Now, those details are arbitrary. It could be anything, but when you do provide those details, it does actually create that element of gaming in it. And then humor also adds to the creativity. So this one, when I created this one, this is from a few weeks ago. It's a course in economics. And it has to do with some basic economic concepts, which I'm going to explain to you later. But basically, the students had to create a play, and they were told to create a tragedy. So as you can see, the play is going to be a tragedy, and we're going to read it together with Cathy. So so Cathy, you can do them one by one, and we go ahead. So you're going to be Noel.
I'm Noel. Okay. Thank you for taking me on this date to this cheap Chinese cuisine. Though I don't like their noodles, I love their fortune cookies. Anyway, it's a free lunch.
Next. Well, not that free. He pulls out a ring. Will you marry me?
What is that? It looks like it's from Barnes and Nobles.
Well, we are both broke university students. What did you expect?
I didn't choose you of all people just to get a ring like that.
Oh, I thought you'd like it, and that is all I could afford anyway.
I could have picked Zach over you. At least he's not a bum, and his mom makes good pasta.
You should be lucky because I was able to get one of the last ones. They were all sold out.
If they were all sold out, then they were all cheap so that everyone could afford one.
I'm sorry. I thought this would make you happy. It seems I'm more sensitive to price than you.
It's over, and I get to keep the cats.
Fine by me. It's what will make both of us happy.
Oh, and I lost my script. I lost my script. What's the last line?
I'll never trust another fortune cookie.
What does it say? I'll never trust another fortune cookie again. Oh, that's cute.
Yeah. All right. Now, so let me share this.
Ahmad students actually wrote that. That's Ahmad students.
This was written by my students. I touched it up a little bit, but if you look at the bottom, there is this the notes section. And even if you're not an economist, you can see some of the connections here. So for instance, the free lunch is an economic concept. Inferior goods, so that inferior goods are when I joke with my students and I say that, you know, BlackBerry cell phone is an inferior good. Those who buy it is because they don't have enough income to buy a real phone. But basically here you can talk about like a cheap restaurant would be an example of inferior good that people buy because of budget constraint. And then preferences have to do with people's tastes. Consumption complements. So if you date someone whose mom makes good pasta, that can be a good example of consumption complements. Happiness here would have to do with utility. Willingness to pay is the people's how much people are willing to pay for a certain product, and so forth. So you have elasticity, which has to do with the sensitivity of buyers to the price. So basically, the idea is that the story itself doesn't have any specific economic terms, but you have to, the person who writes it has to think about them, and it has to provide a legend down there that describes the relativity, the relatedness or the relationship. When my students do this, once we come back from the breakout rooms, I ask them to kind of role play it, kind of like what we did here with Cathy, and then I ask them to interpret it for us. So they have to, so they're gonna have a legend themselves, kind of like what you see here. Sometimes they color code it, and then they have to basically convince the rest of the class how the story relates to the concept. So you can see that it's not, it is fun, but there's also the learning element. We don't want to get carried away with all the fun. and forget about the learning. So the learning also takes place. And I would argue that this actually is a fairly high level of learning, to be able to produce something, to create something, and also evaluate it and interpret it. So when you guys write your allegory with animal characters, this is also something I tried last term with my exams. So I had one with the money market. So the differentiate between liquidity and bonds and interpret Canada's banking system. So this was actually a test, and this is an example of what a student wrote. So for instance, the sea turtles try to persuade the shark into building more above water housing. And then they have a legend at the bottom. So here the sharks would be the government and so forth. Money is time and lobbying is the turtles pursuing the shark. So in the legend, they would use economic terms, but in the story, it's just an allegory. So that's kind of like what you're being asked to do in this activity. So we're gonna put you into groups. So each of you, we're gonna assign you a certain slide number. So I think the first group would be slide 4. Or maybe we can just move them up so that it's less confusing, so that the group numbers and slide numbers can go on. So I don't know, Cathy, we have 6 groups. Do you think that's sufficient? You're still muted, Cathy.
How many are we? We're here.
We are just about, yeah, we are 19 in total. 11, 12. So we can have groups of 2 or 3. We can have also 5 groups maybe.
So it's 17, 5. I'm not good at math, so that's about 3, little 3 and some groups of 3 and some groups of 4. Does that sound good?
Yeah.
So
maybe.
5 groups.
5 groups sounds good.
So I'll make 5 breakout rooms. Do we have 5 slides?
Yeah, we have even more. Yeah.
Okay. And how many paragraphs do we have? So the trick is not to write anywhere on your slide any clues about what your allegory is meant to be about. So you can choose like 1 or 2 concepts and write those into your allegory. I think it doesn't matter. Ahmad, we can.
Right. So yeah, so the idea is that first of all, you take a few minutes just to read the highlighted parts in the article. You don't have to read the whole article, just the highlighted parts. So again, does everybody have access? Does anybody not have the article with the highlighted parts? It was in the chat box. I don't know if anybody came later. So
I can repost it.
Yeah, maybe you can repost.
I'll repost it. So
right.
And you should all have editing power. So I guess once you're into the rooms, the breakout rooms will be assigned 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So if you're group 1, you're going to be on slide 1, and you should all be able to modify that document. So you'll be able to type into, you're all set as editors on that G slides document.
Right. Yeah. So you try to read as much the highlighted parts of the article, and then you pick which parts you would like to write a story on. So a couple of concepts, not too many, maybe just 2, 3 concepts that you want to express using an allegory, right? And then when we come back, we do a random draw, and one group gets to read it to the rest of the team, and then the rest of the participants have to guess what your story represents, right? So you need the content of the article both to write your own story and also to guess what others wrote. At any point, we're going to be coming around. I know it might be a bit, if you have any confusion, you can call us also and we're going to explain it to you. So Cathy, do you want to?
Sorry, Ahmad, just to clarify. So how do you make sure that not everyone chooses like the first concept?
We don't make sure. We don't make sure.
we can randomize. The other possibility, because this is, I was wondering the same thing, but should we send them?
So okay, another possibility is that we can come.
Okay,
yeah, we can come to your groups and tell you individually what is your concept. So maybe
that's
we can
what
do
we'll
that.
do. We're going to send you to your rooms. You can get started, scanning over the articles and getting to know your group members, and we can actually send chats. So keep your eye on the screen, because we'll send you your. We'll either come into the room, but I'm pretty sure we can send you. Your categories that were that the sections you're responsible for. In a chat. All good? So I'm creating the rooms. If there's any questions, please feel free to let us know. And how long? About 10 minutes in the room, Ahmad?
No, maybe 20 minutes.
20 minutes. Yeah. Okay. 20 minutes. Is everyone good with that? Okay, and Ahmad and I will circulate a little bit, but you can also call us from the rooms, I believe, if you need assistance. So, all right. So I'm creating, and we'll see you on the flip side. This is your creation. Ahmad, do you want to share your screen for the?
Sure. Yeah. So well done. So when I personally, when my students come back, I ask first for volunteers who would like to read their story. And given the dismal self-confidence that they have, nobody ever volunteers. So I always have to do it myself now. So let me. We just found something cool that's nice. I just put all of your names in here. Now I could have put groups here, but I decided to put your names in there just so that you feel even worse. So that it's a little bit more excitement. So whoever's names comes up, the group will be reading their story. All right. So let's go. All right, Davina. So do you remember your group number?
Yeah, we're number 5.
Okay, cool.
And I think one of my members is still working on the storyline. Okay. So
first, let's Cathy, do you want to share your share this story so that everybody can see it on the Zoom? Yeah, and Cathy, you're still muted. Maybe you can do it. Okay, so maybe you can click on present so that it's larger. All right, so Davina and maybe another person that you decide how you want to present it.
Oh, Carmen and Marco Andre, what would you like to do? You want to? They were great.
If I have a choice, I'll sit back.
It doesn't matter.
Do you want us to read the story, or do you want us to tell you how we developed the story?
First, read it. Yeah, just play it. So maybe Carmen and Davina, maybe you can take turns to read one part each, or one sentence each.
Sure. Once upon a time, there was Flippy the squirrel who loved eating.
One day, while exploring Vaudreuil, he came across the Gerard's backyard where there's a huge bird feeder filled with yummy seeds.
But to get to the seeds, he had to complete an obstacle course.
This was not easy.
As he tried to get to the seeds, he falls over and over again.
But he never gave up, and after each attempt, he managed to get closer to the seeds.
And finally, he makes it to the bird feeder and fills his belly. We had more that we were exploring. But
we ran out of time.
No, that's fine. That's so. Let's so at this point, before you spoil it, I know you. So it would be nice to hear from you, like your process. But before that, let's have everybody else take a minute to guess what was the concept that this group was desperately trying to convey through this story. So take a minute to think. You read the passage, so you know the concepts which were discussed. What do you think would be the most relevant concept? And to do that, we also do another game. So I'm gonna put this in the chat box for you. So what I want you to do, this is something that all of you have heard of, or most of you have heard of. You go to kahoot.it, and we are gonna play a guessing game over there, where you get to there's a simple multiple choice question, and you get to guess. So you can open this with a different device if you have a cell phone. That would be better, so that you can have your Zoom session open. That would be the best. So the code, I'll also put the code in the chat box. That's what you use to join the Kahoot. So if you have a cell phone or another device, go to kahoot.it and then put in the code so that you can join the team, the game.
Oh man, that music. The only thing that I don't like about Kahoot is that music when you play it in class, and it's like it sticks in your brain.
Yeah. I tried to turn off the music once though, and my student, I said, do you guys mind if I turn off the music? Because I find it really annoying, that song. And the students were, no, we love the music. Okay.
Really?
Yes.
Yeah, by the way, Carmen and Mark, I don't know what you guys are doing over there, because you guys are the ones who wrote this story, but it's okay. I mean, we're gonna let you play it. But if you win, we won't give you the prize.
I was just
That's
thinking of
cheating.
spectating, but
Yeah.
you have to participate if you join.
Yeah,
Okay.
but it's okay.
I'll take my leave then.
No, it's okay.
There we
Oh,
go.
thanks, Jessica. I didn't know you can change the music.
It doesn't change that much though. It's just a different version of the
Another
same.
It's
Annoying.
slightly different, but I'm also very sick of this one, so I changed mine.
Is everyone in?
Just have 12. Maybe a few others.
Did you put me in, Ahmad? Because I don't have it open on my phone.
Do you see the chat box? No, you have to.
Yeah, I'll go there. It's okay.
Yeah.
I think you can go ahead, Ahmad.
Yeah, let's play this. It's just for demonstration anyway. So you can see the question on Zoom, and then you can use your device to guess. So what was this group's concept? All right, so 4 people got it right.
So the big reveal. You guys want to explain your process, and that's your big reveal? So I think you wanted to tell us.
Wow, Joe.
We were just thinking that it was graceful failure. And the idea was that the squirrel, I don't know if any of it, we had all seen that video of that squirrel in the backyard trying to go through the obstacle course, and how it would fall down all the time and like fly and do some beautiful flips. Despite the fact it kept on losing, it never gave up, kind of thing. It was exciting to keep on trying to get to those seeds. So that was our process.
Awesome. Thank you.
Do you want to add anything more, like anything else that you were planning to write that you didn't get time to? Carmen or Mark, do you have anything else?
Want to add anything? It just was a very short time because none of us had done the homework, so we were really rushing through it.
So really the idea is just to guide, to you know, get some ideas to see, of course, if you're going to do this, your students would have done the reading before ideally. And, you know, it's just to show some different ways to try to get some creativity going and playing in the classroom, and different ideas for how to game things up a little bit. So,
yeah. And the Kahoot, by the way, I've noticed it has a lot of potential also, depending on the kinds of questions that you create. You can pause after each question and have a little lecture about, you know, what was the point of it. And you can use it for bonus questions. They really like it. And the idea, again, the Kahoot itself is an example of graceful failure, because if you miss it, like, it's not the end of the world. So that's a very wonderful platform to use. So anyway, Karine, do we have you still?
do you guys have a preference? Is Karine still here? Did we lose her?
Yeah.
I'm there.
Oh, there you are. Okay.
So yeah, we hand it over to you.
Okay. So I played a game with my students in 2019 and in 2020, and I just have a short video to show you a little bit what the game is. Then I guess I can answer your questions or explain a bit more, or we can even play, because I can share with you the first part of my game. All right. Oops, not at all. That's that and that. Sorry about that.
I think if you do whole screen, the whole screen, and then you got it. There we go.
You see my, yes?
Yep.
Are you ready for the escape room challenge? In fall 2019, nursing students escaped nursing labs. In fall 2020, they escaped breakout rooms. The renal failure class is divided in 4 hours of theory and 2 hours of lab. The students received participation tokens during the Zoom theory classes. In order to escape the breakout room, the students had to complete 4 levels with increasing level of thinking according to Bloom's taxonomy. It helped them review all the key concepts from the theory classes. I used a combination of activities on Moodle and breakout rooms on Zoom. The students needed to open a document containing clues on Moodle and work in a team via Zoom to solve the puzzles. Once they felt they had the correct padlock code, they entered it on Moodle. A good answer made the next level available to them. For this 2020 cohort, we had 4 breakout rooms, 8 to 9 students and 1 teacher in each, and the students were able to exchange their participation tokens for hints to solve the puzzles. I was really wondering if this activity worked, and one student that participated both in 2019 and 2020 came to me at the end of the Zoom and said, Karine, it really worked. So that's it. Thank you.
So are we going to play, Cathy?
Can we play?
Well, of course. So what we can do is I would need though to share the document, and it's really like the first part, as you can see, the first level is remember and understand. So it's really stuff on the kidneys. So if you have your phone close by, it might help answer some of the questions, right? So I don't know how the easiest to share the document though.
In the chat, I think you can attach documents. And do you want me to create breakout rooms, or is that going to be too hard to manage it, Cathy, from here?
No, I think it's fine. I think it would be fine, but I wouldn't be able to go in each. The idea of the participation tokens was really that in 2019, it was always the same students participating. And this year, I mean, engaging students, we know it's really hard on Zoom. So I want to engage all the students. And so I told them that any question or answer they would give, they would receive a participation token that they can exchange the day after for clues in the next class, you know, so. And everybody participated. Every single student had at least 1 token. So I think that the goal was achieved there. So maybe Cathy, because it's just a Word document, so I'll try to but it's not on OneDrive or something like as a. So
you can put it into the file, like you can attach it as a file in the chat.
Okay.
If you click on chat, button. Yeah, it says file. By the way, what you just did is corresponds to the incentive system in gamification. That's wonderful.
Exactly. So they're tokens, and what did they win with the tokens, Karine?
They had clues. They had like hints that the other students didn't have. So if they felt that this step was really hard, I had some hints that the teacher was reading the hint to them. So
okay.
Yeah.
Nice. So by getting these participation tokens in the prior classes, they were building up their ability to win the game.
Exactly.
Nice.
Okay, so getting there.
So as she's pulling that up, one thing I've noticed is that the students actually are much more motivated with these things that don't amount to anything than by marks. I've noticed that like they actually care more about like that little check mark or something. They actually care more about that than their actual mark. So that's something to keep note of.
It's writing that network disconnected, resend, but it's not working. It has to be
you can send it to us by email, and we can share it.
Okay.
In the meantime, let me see. Did you?
I can do another demonstration, or we can have Anna go. Which one?
Yeah, maybe. Do we want to let Anna go while we?
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, Karine, just work on that. And we have Anna, go ahead. We want to hear from you also, because we know you have this wonderful story.
Okay, so for me, we're going to play a game. And it's randomly about pediatric hospitalization, but it doesn't matter. We can have like a few questions or just the potpourri question, just so you can get an idea how it works. What we're going to do first is that we're going to divide ourselves into 4 groups, 4 teams. Then the 4 teams will go into a breakout room for 1 minute. What they're going to do in that breakout room is that they're going to elect the president of the group. What the president of the group is going to do is that everyone, once we play the game, everyone from the group gives an answer, and the team president chooses the final answer. So if, for example, Carl, Hélène, Carmen, and Menoir are in the same team, and Hélène is the president, and Carl says C, Carmen says C, and Menoir says B, then Hélène, as the president, chooses the final answer, which is C, or any other answer, but usually by majority, if it's a big class. So if let's say in a breakout room there's 10 people, and there's, you know, always the one president, and 6 of those people choose C, and then the rest A, B, then the president will choose C, and it will be the final answer. So there's 1 minute in the breakout rooms, and then 1 minute per question. So we can do as, I don't know how, if we have 10 minutes or 5 minutes, or I'm going to share the screen to show you what it looks like, because I think it's going to be easier for you to sort of picture. Can you see? It's like, what is this game playing in real life? It's who wants to be a millionaire? What is it called?
Jeopardy?
Jeopardy.
Jeopardy. It's exactly like that. So I put 4 teams because there are 4 teams here. And then the president also chooses the category. Any questions?
So you want me to create 4 breakout rooms, and they're going to go
Correct.
in for a minute each, right? But
Correct.
first we read the question.
So once the president is chosen, then we're going to start playing the game.
Okay. Okay. So I'm going to open the rooms for 1 minute, and so you're basically going out and coming straight back.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
At least as long as you don't impeach me, I'm okay.
No, you're not the president. Yeah, you're off the hook. You know, there's a real joke that economists never vote. So here's a perfect example of that. But anyway.
All right. So,
Okay, so it goes from 100 to 500. We're gonna use the chat. The president also chooses the category. Potpourri is, like, for the ones who don't know, is just random questions. So team number 1, go ahead.
So I suppose it's us, and I'll act as the president of team number 1, and I'll go with potpourri, please.
For how much?
Let's say 100, please.
For 200?
No, 100. Well, it doesn't matter. It's fine. Okay. George Orwell.
But it's, remember, you're playing in team. So
Oh my goodness.
you
Okay,
want to
sorry.
get your teams feedback?
I agree with the president.
It's an elected president, not a dictator, man.
But okay, you know, if I guess if the president knows the answer.
I'm sorry, guys. It's because they told me, I did ask my teammates. I said, should I just shoot the answer? And my understanding is that they gave me permission to do so. But okay, I can consult with my team then. So team, where are you?
Hey, what's up? You're right.
So team number 1 gets.
Yay!
So you see on team 1, it added 200. So team number 2.
Anna, are we allowed to sabotage other teams if we're not on team 1?
Oh, Whitaker. Really? Dude, have some chill.
Well, we got to see if they really know their stuff. If we can knock them off, you know, they don't know their stuff.
Economists are all so
That could be a cool
hard.
thing to add. Yeah.
He's an engineer. Don't hold it against him.
But he has an economist gene.
Okay, so team 2 is breakout room 2. I think it was me and Carmen and Campbell. So wait a second. I just got to say, man, I'm feeling emotionally vulnerable because I look at these categories and it seems quite bleak. Children in hospitals, and I'm like, this doesn't seem too happy. So
sorry, not a happy subject. That's the one I had already.
Okay.
Made.
Is that why you chose to gamify this one, Anna, to bring light to a dark subject, or is it just par hasard? Is it?
Well, these are like order of nurses exam questions.
Okay.
So it's things that they're going to be asked in the exam and stuff like that.
I don't know, Carmen. You want to choose a category then, Carmen?
Sorry.
They potpourri.
That's safe.
Yeah,
Yes.
I think so.
Yes.
Go ahead there, Mr. President.
I have to choose something. I don't know. Give me 500.
Yeah, that's right. Go big. That's right.
It's all artificial money anyways, so let's do this.
Oh, that's perfect.
Jeez, Carmen, I wish we had somebody in our group who would do something about chemistry.
Yeah, right? It's lead.
Cameron, you want to guess?
No, I'm good. Just be sitting here quietly. Actually, I know this one, so yeah, that's fine.
That's plombium, I'm sure. It's plombium.
Colombian.
It's peanut butter.
Oh my God, that's what I got wrong in the high school exam. Okay. I just ended up in physics instead of chemistry. Yes, it's lead.
You guys joke more than the students.
Friday.
Well, that's because we've already got a job. We're not worried about shit.
All right.
Woohoo!
I want my fake bucks.
There's a glitch in this game somewhere in potpourri, but it's okay. You're gonna get a free.
So just in case someone, I don't want to shut the game down, but I want to make sure that Karine has time to show us a little bit more about her. Does anyone have questions for Anna about? I don't want to. About because I think we see enough to see what the game is about.
I think
how to make it and the mechanisms and so on.
I have a quick question. This is flippity.net. Is that what you're using to create this these questions and so on?
Yeah.
So it's completely separate. So the students just go. You have to set that all up in advance, of course.
I do.
With all the questions and so on.
But it's just it's an Excel file, right, Anna? So you could just copy paste if you already had a multiple choice.
Yeah.
Oh, really? Oh, okay. So it's like an Excel.
Just copy paste it. Yeah.
Ah, good.
I just wonder how come. Yeah.
How long does it take you to do something like that in a class? Like that example you just showed us. How much time would you spend on that?
It takes a good 20 minutes.
But to do the whole thing, you mean to separate them into groups and then have them come back in?
You have a table and then you just plug it into the table. You copy paste it into the table and then it creates it.
No, what I mean to say is with the students, how much time do you spend with the students doing this?
Oh, this can take a good hour.
About an hour. It's basically one whole lecture then, sort of, would you say?
Usually our classes are 2 hours, so about half a class.
About half a class. And how do you set it up with the breakout rooms? How do you have the teams work? Do you give them like 5 minutes to talk amongst themselves to find out the answer, or how do you organize that?
I give them 1 to 2 minutes. Then I put it on my phone, and then when the alarm rings, then they have to choose. The president has to choose an answer.
I see. So each team has to go off and find an answer, and then one team gets the opportunity to give an answer. If they got the wrong answer, then somebody else gets. Is that kind of how you do it, or?
No, if they get the wrong answer, then you'll be wrong here. So you put, let's say this. They got it wrong. Team 2 gets it wrong.
Okay.
Then they get it wrong.
What I'm thinking though is what happens to the other teams while say team 3 is providing an answer? What are the other teams doing?
They're learning. They're trying to answer in their mind.
Answering the question. Okay, fine.
If the one team gets it wrong, can the second team have a chance? The other teams have a chance at it, or no?
No.
No. Okay.
No, but they would be a good idea. It's just it would be so much longer. because then we could spend 4 teams per each one question.
Right.
And for the
okay, if they get it wrong there.
Do you use breakout rooms in Zoom for the students to discuss amongst themselves? Is that how you organize that?
No, we use the chat. So you have the president. The president looks at the chat, and in the chat, the members of their team say A, B, B, C, 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 C. Then the president chooses C and gives it as a final answer.
Oh, interesting.
I wonder if you sent them out every time, if you could, because if all of them went into their breakout rooms for 1 minute and you just send them right back, then the other teams could try to come up with the answer as well. And if they got it wrong, you could move down the line, kind of thing.
Oh yeah, and then I would give. The problem is with the points, because I can't give all the teams points at the same time.
Okay. Anyway,
that's why I put them one by one.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
But I can see how you can make maybe less questions, because you see how it's designed. There is so you see the question, and then you see there's a dot at the team. So I wonder if I can give team 1. Yeah, I guess I can. Okay. Yeah, so I guess we could get all the teams on one question, and then maybe then we can have less questions, and it'll be less work for us. That would be a good idea.
Just ideas. I'm thinking about how to run it. So, are there other questions for Anna before we let Karine finish her truncated presentation? I did put the document into the chat. No, so I guess Anna, we'll come up with a compiled list of resources we can send to the group afterwards of all the different kind of, different tools and things that we've used to create various different parts of this presentation, and we'll send it to everybody afterwards.
Yeah, there's something else that I tried in my class. Of course, I'm also a nursing teacher, but it's called a 1-minute simulation. And I don't know if any of you have heard about it, but I think it can be applicable elsewhere. So for us, we give a context with a patient, for example, and the student has 1 minute to tell us what to do, or to say whatever assessment or intervention they will make. And then the next student has another minute to continue or to change, and so it keeps all the students on their toes, because they don't know which person will be next. And if they say something that's already been done, then it doesn't make the case advance or something. So this is also a way to keep them engaged, and it can also be done I think we have to think of things that can be done, adapted to not Zoom, like to real classes, because we will eventually come back to real classes. So yeah, that's adaptable. So we've tried it and it works. It was nice. The students liked it, right? So if you want to break 4 breakout rooms or even 3 will be fine.
I already have 4 set up, and then so we'll keep the same rooms if that's okay with everybody.
Yeah. So the idea here is to find numbers to come up with a padlock key. Okay, so the codes are numbers, not letters or sentences or stuff like that. So it's
just to clarify, we are working on the file which is in the chat box.
Level 1, yeah. Student level 1, yeah.
Student level 1, so it's up the chat box, so you can open that document. And go ahead, Cathy, sorry.
Well, so I don't know exactly how. The other thing is that maybe people can have it open, because it's and then we can just discuss it here instead of going in breakout rooms, or I don't know how people would like to do it, but the way it was played, it was in breakout rooms.
Yeah, so we can try. So just maybe, can you tell us what the goal is before we head into the breakout rooms? Maybe we can try to get the first lock. So is this the first lockbox, this document, or is this the first code?
So the level 1 is to get the first padlock, because when I did it in class, obviously I had boxes and real padlocks. So it's to get the padlock code, and then the students, when they had the numbers, they entered the numbers in. Oh, it's true. There's something else. I'm sorry, mon Dieu. I have to share something else with you. Oh my Lord, I forgot. It hasn't been that long, but. So they have another paper with hints or the clues, sorry. I'm gonna send it to you. Where is it? 2 minutes, 2 minutes.
So so we need to come up with the answers, and when we get the answers, it will give us the numbers.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, just when we were being hired, we never thought we were going to come down to doing these kinds of things, right? It wasn't in the brochure.
Yeah.
I think for me, the times that I've done this, I always thought doing it, I thought it's silly. You know, you know, it didn't seem like it would be maybe worth it, or I don't know, but I found that I don't know, how did your students react to this stuff, Karine? It seems like they really appreciate the fun aspect of things.
Yes, yes. And the good thing about it is that the way I built it was really to make them review. So I think the easiest way would be for me to share it, because and I know time's running out. So
if you need a couple more minutes, I can do another demonstration in the meanwhile. Is that okay,
no,
Cathy?
okay.
Okay, got it. Okay.
Yeah. So I think I'm just going to share. It's going to be easier.
Okay, sure.
To show you. So here, so they have this. This is a nephron, right? And so they have to identify the parts of the nephrons that are showed with the arrows, and in their clues they have different names. And behind I can't remember how I did it this semester, but so in the real game they had numbers, they had letters actually behind the names, right? For the first one, it's the glomerulus. So behind the glomerulus it was letter F. And then the second one, number 2, is the afferent arteriole. So it had the letter O, and then it's the distal convoluted tubule. So it had the letter U, and then the last one is the loop of Henle, and it behind it was the letter R. So if they had the right ones, they turned them. So they came up with the letter, the name, you know, the word 4. So the first padlock key was 4. And then the second one here, it's really, so the biochemistry in chronic kidney disease. So they have to identify, so which one goes up and which one goes down. So it's arrows. So, and then the hint, you know, remember with the token. So the hint was sum it up. So sum it up with an arrow going up, then down. So an arrow going down. So in here, so the potassium, the creatinine, the BUN, and the phosphorus go up, and the pH and the calcium go down. So it was 4 minus 2. So the second number was 2. And this one here, the number of kidney functions. I wanted to know the number of kidney functions, and the hint was a reference to their book. So the Lewis is their book for medical, surgical, and nursing. And so the hint was the page where they could find the six kidney functions. And in the lab, I had the books available for them to look. And this one here is their nightmare, and it's the renin-angiotensin-aldosterone system. And so they had, I'm going to show you the other. So they had these comment on dit ça? Fill in the blanks there. And what they had in their clues was this here. So they were able to move the different.
You're not sharing anymore, Cathy.
Oh, I'm not sharing anymore. I'm sharing to myself.
It just came off. It just came off.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So it's here. So I'm sharing these clues with them, and so they were able to use these words and put them in the sentence, and it formed a sentence in red. If they had the right blue names, then it formed a sentence in red, and when they were reading the sentence, it came up to a number that they had to, the answer was a number, and it had to do with the glomerular filtration rate. So this is something that they need to know in chronic kidney disease. So that's basically it. And then, you know, it went on. So the second level was more What's the second one? So remember, understand, and then that one.
Apply.
So, apply. So it was applying, so choosing a medication, making a medication calculation and stuff like that. So, and then, yeah, comparing and contrasting in further levels and stuff. So, yeah.
So to win the whole game, they had to get to the create level.
Yes, exactly. So the first ones to open the last padlock, well, in 2019, they got candies because it was around Halloween time. And this year they just got on Moodle. Congratulations, you have escaped the breakout room. Yeah.
That's your answer, Ian, to the incentive systems. I said the same thing to Ian. I always bring chocolate bars when I'm doing this kind of thing.
Yeah, yeah.
But you can have less. The irony for me is that I'm teaching a cardiorespiratory course. So, you know, I'm trying to teach them about good health and eating habits, and then I'm bringing them chocolate bars. So, you know, if you have a non-food
yeah,
I think it's great. But
yeah.
if anyone has ideas, feel free to share.
Yeah, yeah. So I must admit that it did take a long time to create the first one. You know, but to adapt it to online, it was fast. You know, it didn't take that much. But creating games is often like time consuming. So if we have games that are less time consuming to create, would be nice.
It's an investment, right? Then you can use it forever once you have it done, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Wow, thank you so much. That shows that it takes a lot of thought. If I may, just a couple of minutes to show one more thing that I wanted to share with you, and that's the Frayer model. If you attended Usha James's PED talk in October, she showed something similar to this. A Frayer model is basically a way of summarizing a concept. You write the concept in the middle with a definition, characteristics, examples, and non-examples. This can also be formed into a game, as I've done here with the bonus activity. So for instance, an example of a Frayer model in economics could be, you can have the law of demand. You give the definition here, some of the characteristics of it, some examples for it, and some non-examples. Now, the way I make this into a game is I ask students to create their own. So they have to pick their own concept. You could also give the concept to them, and to fill in three of the boxes around, and then leave the other two blank. So something like this. So here what you have is the student who creates it gives the definition, gives the characteristics, so something developed by Adam Smith, gives a couple of examples, and then this would be the designer. Then the person who completes it is going to be another student who's going to give non-examples in this case and guess what the concept is, right? So in this case, can anybody guess what the concept is? Something developed by Adam.
Free market, it's Adam Smith, I don't know.
Yeah. So individual self-interest results in social well-being.
Newton's third law.
Yeah, there you go. So, so this is Newton's invisible hand, right? So it's almost there. So so basically a guessing game, and there is, as you can see, there is a creation aspect for the person who does it, and also for the other person, they have to also complete something compatible with the rest of it, and also a good review of what they have done. So guessing, you can do a lot of things with guessing games, where one person does a part of the story and the other people complete the story or do a commentary on it. Kind of like what you did with your story. You can have the story that you wrote and somebody else writes a commentary on it. So that would be another format of it. Manowar, did you have a question? Are you there, Manowar?
Maybe we can open.
I just wanted to know, ask Karine if she has a payoff. I mean, to student. Is it evaluated or?
No.
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 It was chocolate before COVID and emotional support during COVID.
Yes. But also playing during a class. So I think, but for some students didn't like it when it was in person because it was a bit noisy. But I mean, one person told me that she found it too noisy. But otherwise, I mean, they were going around the labs and they were having fun. Yeah.
They actually have to physically get out of the lab in the yeah. So this one, they're trying to escape the breakout room. In order to get out of the breakout room, they have to give you the codes, right?
Yeah. So actually, I found a way that if they enter an answer in Moodle, then it gives them access to the other document later on. Yeah.
So We can open the floor to questions for Anna, for Ahmad, myself, Karine, just to, for everybody, or comments, open discussion. It's
yeah, it's 4 o'clock. Also, if anybody needs to run, feel free.
Yeah, if anyone has to go, bye, Chris. If anyone else has to go, I'm here. I will stick around for a few minutes
I want to make just a very quick point, because Ahmad, you mentioned this earlier. For people who don't know, in Moodle, there's a setting for the course, and I think it's called a completion. There's a setting for completion of an activity. And what it does is it opens up a little square box beside any activity to show whether the student has completed it or not. And I've found that's actually very useful for students. They like it, particularly for quizzes, because they get a little green check mark if they pass the quiz. And I've had students sending me messages asking, sir, why don't I have a green check mark there? I'm getting the red one instead. And this has really nothing to do with their mark, but it's, I found it I thought it would be useful just simply so that students would know whether they've done the activity or haven't done it. But a lot of them really, they want to have green check marks everywhere. So it's a very small little thing. It's easy to set in the Moodle. You have to set it within the course settings. It's the default is it's turned off. But if you turn it on, particularly for quizzes, you'll find that it's a good motivator for students that they, as you said, Ahmed, it's a very small little thing. I use a Canvas, like a HTML5 for doing graphic things for my students. And I just threw in, just for the fun of it, very quickly, a thing that gives them fireworks if they get a perfect score. And I did that without thinking about it, but the students have told me they really like that. So it's like these little things that I noticed a moment ago. There was something with confetti falling down. It's at least it tells the students that they've completed or whatever it might be. But you'd be surprised how it doesn't require a lot of incentive for students to enjoy doing something. So that's a little point I wanted to make. For those that use Moodle, take a look at that completion completion setting within the course outline.
James, I have a question for you. Do you set up like that the student has to have a passing grade to have the green check mark?
What I found, 60%, so you have to go into the activity itself and set it at 60%, so that if they're above that. And then the other thing too, you could do it it's as you wish. You can have it so the student checks off the activity themselves, but I set it usually that they have to have a passing grade.
Yeah, right, because I didn't know that part. I knew that you can either have them complete the activity, a quiz or a reading or whatever, and then they can check it themselves, or it can check.
It does it, yeah.
Can get checked by himself, but I didn't know about you can have a passing grade.
Yeah, the other thing too is that I turn it off for the activities that are not graded. Yeah. So if it's just something like a reading, or because I don't give grades for those things, those activities, then I turn it off. So it really only exists for the ones that they're going to be graded on. So that helps them. But it's these small things that you mentioned that it doesn't even require a grade sometimes. Just a little prize like a Halloween or something that's useful.
I have a comment. One of the things I think is really good about a game environment is that you can push the students really quite hard, like the breakout room that you were showing, Cathy. That's a task. You have to aim the level of the task quite well, and for something like a breakout room, you can make it really challenging. Like, one of the worst things is to make it too easy so that one person in the group says, oh, I can just do that by myself.
Yeah.
But if and sometimes we hesitate to push our students. And I think a gaming environment or the idea of a game where the stakes may be low in terms of their grades, but there's a reward emotionally, there's a reward in front of, their peers, you can make things quite difficult. And that's, sometimes it's hard to get them to engage in something that's really challenging and have them struggle and fail at it. And the idea of a game,
exactly, Cathy, I was going to say,
does that really well.
It just depends. I'll give you another example. I taught a course in investment principles, and I set up a simulation for them. It was in effect a game, but it was they were trading with each other, and it was extremely effective. but it required quite a bit of work on my part. There's online simulations as well that are used, and that's what we typically now use at Dawson. So, and that also is very, very helpful. I think it's a part of the question of whether you want to do it in teams, like a group of people, or as individuals, or else they can do it as individuals, but they confer with others. It just depends on the circumstances. But I agree, it usually takes quite a bit of work. So I found that anytime I've done any kind of game type thing, is that to give it a lot of thought beforehand about how you're going to set it up. Because once you kind of start working on it, you don't want to find out like 6 weeks or 2 months later that you're doing it the wrong way, and the game is showing them the wrong thing or something, and then you just sort of wasted your whole time doing it. So there's an example where you really or if you can do it a way that I think you call it scaffolding, where you ratchet it up, where you start with something small and then just add little chunks to it, so it becomes more and more. I don't know if the word's realistic is the right term, but it can be very, very, particularly for students our age group. They're very quick to find it kind of fun to do this sort of thing. So,
yeah. In my thing, oddly enough, they found the first part, which is technically easier, right? Remember and understand. They found it harder, than the create part in the end, or the application, or they are used, our nursing students, they are used to contextualized questions. So it's always a context, and the patient has whatever, and then they have to come up with a hypothesis. And so they really appreciated the fact that these type of questions were also in the further levels of the game. And also the questions were very similar to the exam questions that I had at the end of the semester. So, that's another thing. So they don't get a reward or grades for that, but they do get some learning and application, and then it helps them for the exam as well.
Ideally, that's what you want the game to do, is to show them something that's give them an insight into something that they otherwise wouldn't obtain. And so, as you said, it helps them on the test. So they're going to, there's a payoff in that sense.
Exactly.
Yeah, no, I agree. I'm not very good at the creative side of it, in the sense of giving them, like what you were doing, Ahmad, at the beginning, where you're giving some kind of a situation, and like the students have to invent something on their own to illustrate. Myself, I'm not that good. Although I have to say, I'm amazed at any time where I've had any kind of like game situation, how the students themselves are very creative. They seem to discover things on their own. So it's
yeah, that's one of the advantages of gaming. You don't have to plan everything. Cameron, you had something?
So I just wanted to ask Karine. So what you were saying is that the contextualized questions were the ones that are on the exam, or it's the other way around? It's the explicit knowledge ones.
No, it's a contextualized.
Okay, so it's interesting. I'm about to put on nerd learning guy hat. The reality is that adult learners, and that's what we're dealing with, right, don't really care about 1857 was when whatever happened, right? I mean, we all learn it, and it gets banged into our head, but the contextual stuff with adult learners starts being more important, because they want to understand what I'm doing it for. And I sit in a weird space. I've worked in higher ed and then in commercial e-learning. And one of the big problems that you see is that too much commercial training is around, and now we will click on this mouse button, or we will click on this icon. And the reality is that learners are looking for, how do I do thing X? And the reality is that, especially with the kind of learners you're dealing with, that's what they're actually learning how to do. I don't actually care if they know what the name of the vein is. If they stop me from bleeding out through it, that's what I'm super keen on. Like, if they can remember what it's connected to, that's awesome. But if I don't die, and reality is that's the use case for Cameron. Right? If Cameron's bleeding out, the use case for fixing Cameron is closing that off, not, well, let's think that's connected to, I mean, I don't care.
I tell them, though, there is a certain minimal amount of remember and understand you need to have, like knowledge, like by heart or by, and I give them the example of kidneys, for example. There are only 6 kidney functions. If you know them, you will be able, yes, and you can look, there's always a reference, right? But if you know the kidney functions, then you will know that there's something wrong with your patient's kidneys much faster. you know, and recognize that there's a complication arising, and the faster you act on this complication, the better the outcome for the patient. So that's why that's what I want to put in their head, you know.
And another thing that I was going to say that I really like, Ahmad, about these kind of games, especially the whole idea of breakout rooms, is that I don't know what all of your jobs are like, if you've worked beyond academia or even within academia, but life is open book, right? I mean, like I used to do web development. I don't remember PHP, but someone wrote about it online, you know, and I can't remember every learning theory that I ever learned in school, but I can go look it up to refresh myself. And so what I like about these games is it does give that time, especially like your metaphor or allegory ones, gives you the time to go away, look at the material and come up with something really cool as a group, which is also a reality of work. So I really think it's a super powerful way to get people to think about. And then that low risk thing too is really important. The exam kind of assessment doesn't always work with all students, and so I think this is really interesting.
I think, and we said it, Ahmad too, and I today, it's good when you have enough students in the groups too, so that if like an activity like the allegory can be maybe intimidating for some to come on, and especially if we want them to act it out. But if there's, you know, 4 or 5 students in the group instead of 2, then there's kind of less pressure, and the more outgoing students can choose to be on the spot. And I think it's always good too to warn them that you're going to do that, so that when, you know, they kind of get ready, that builds up maybe a bit of adrenaline in the groups too, because they know like, oh, we're going to be called on. And so they come out, you know, they come out of the breakout rooms kind of ready to go, and they have their spokespeople or their actors or whoever's going to kind of ready to be on the spot. And whenever I do stuff like that too, I try and make sure that if there's anybody who really just doesn't want to be on the spot, that they let me know also, so that I don't end up choosing somebody who's going to be very uncomfortable with that. So
that kind of varying participation and comfort level you can do in non-game stuff for like learning, right? I mean, where you have in-class discussions and also forums, because the student who's really comfortable talking out like that, like me, is really talking, may not be super comfortable writing, and vice versa. So it's you see that a lot in language, like ESL classes.
Yeah, it gives them different ways to participate, right? So that's yeah, exactly. It draws on different forces inside the group. So
actually, I want to ask, since in your breakout rooms, when you were writing the allegory, did anybody have any particular experience, observation, anything, I don't know, surprising, anything that you feel like sharing? How was your experience with that? Because we weren't with you.
Was it fun or stressful or both?
Was the advantage, was the disadvantage, anything surprising?
I think it was a bit stressful. I don't know. Jessica and I were in the same team. I don't know. Allegories aren't an easy thing to do, so.
I thought it was creative, but yeah, difficult to kind of come up with, you know, the setting or the scenario. But I had great teammates, so they helped.
And we probably caught you off guard too. Like, I think that if you typically do this kind of stuff, I'm sure Ahmad students are used to it, so they know they're going to be called upon to be creative, right? So, and you guys maybe came thinking it was going to be a workshop, you'd be able to like turn off your screen and sit back and drink a coffee.
I
we put you to work.
Yeah, but they also probably know that they have to come prepared, because if you tell them to read an article for example, they kind of have a hint that something's going to happen in class related to this article or something.
Davina?
I also found that it's a fine balance figuring out how long to give an activity for, because, you know, I'm sure that I really wanted to do more work on this. I knew we were getting somewhere and we needed to go a little further into it till we got it right. And yet I know sometimes when I ask my students to get into their little rooms, if I take too long with them in their little rooms, they're bored. Some are bored and some are really engaged. There's a variation of what's happening in the different breakout rooms. I struggle with trying to figure out how to achieve a good balance.
So one thing Chris gave me strategies to deal with that, because I have the same issue. And sometimes you'll have one group that's really like lagging behind the other groups. there's a couple things in the breakout rooms. I mean, in the active learning classroom, you can kind of survey the groups and see what's going on. There's different ways to, I don't know if you guys have other ideas, but that if there's a super group that's done, you can have them redistribute and help out the other groups that are struggling. Online, I can see in the GDocs who's moving and who's not moving. That's why I came in to see you guys, because I could see that there was no text coming up on slide 5. So I came in to see if everything was going well in slide 5. And not to put pressure on you, but to say like, move it along. And so I think that that's helpful to be able to survey what's going on in the rooms. You can also give them extra tasks. So, you know, that's why before we sent you out, we said, you know, if you finish, you can go back to the article, read the other sections, discuss the other sections, so that when you come back, you'll be better equipped to you know, win the game, because the game is actually when you come back to the room. So.
But that brings up, I guess, the other concept, which is I jump into the breakout rooms to see how the students are doing. I may be breaking their flow.
Yeah, so that's one of the things I learned from Cathy, was using something like GDocs. So first of all, when you put them in breakout rooms, one of the main rules is to have some document to work on. This creates responsibility and also creates the artifact that they share after. And that document that they work on, if it is something like, let's say, a GDoc where you can monitor without interfering, I mean, you could still, if you click your mouse, they can see your icon popping up there, but it's much less intrusive than walking into a breakout room. So that can be a somewhat makeshift solution to not interrupting their discussions.
You can also turn off your camera. Like I want the students to know that I'm not spying on them. So I'll tell them I'm in stealth mode. I will come into your breakout rooms with my camera off. I'm not spying on you, so they know I can show up anytime, and that I'm like, sometimes, you know, I can come in and they don't notice me. They're in their flow, and if my camera's off, they won't even see me come in. So I come in, I listen, they're doing okay, so I just leave and go into the next one. And I warn them, because at first I was like, is that really kosher to do that? And now I tell them I'm doing it so that they know, and it's kind of okay. But I found that doing it from a distance with the Google works really well, because I can actually send them a comment. Instead of coming into the breakout room, I could have put a comment on your slide. I could have sent you a chat, but I also could have put a comment on your slide. Are you guys doing okay? Or if they're starting to work, I have a comment, they're going in a wrong direction, or something's going on the slide. I can actually intervene also from a distance by commenting on their actual work. So that's kind of fun with those collaborative online documents. It's possible to do it in Microsoft also. I'm just not good at Microsoft, so I stick with my tried and true Google stuff. But there are different ways to do it. It doesn't have to be a specific platform. So
Miro is very good for that as well. If you want to see what everybody is doing easily, that's a super platform for that.
Mm. All right, do we have any final comments, questions, ideas?
Can I make a quick comment? One of the things, and I think this builds on something that James, you said, it is hard to make these games, and it's hard to make them right. So I think when, you know, I always take an iterative design approach to it. You know, I try something and then I try to make it better the next year. Sharing it with colleagues within my discipline who understand the content that we're trying to get at, as well as the games, is really important. So forming little communities of practice within your own disciplines is really, really important. I think that's something that we've improved a lot. When I came to Dawson 20 years ago, at least in our department, we didn't talk to each other about what we were doing in our classes. We didn't share. And I find it really, really important to share what you're doing and to iterate and get better and better. You know, I've created a couple of games, but one in particular that I think it took me 3 iterations before I felt like I really got it right. You know, I knew it had some promise at the beginning. So I'd say give yourself, you know, be patient. You know, aiming the level is really important. Davina, as you said, giving the students enough time but not too much time is crucial, and that just takes a bit of experience. And, you know, ask your students, how did it go? What did you think? How could I make it better? I'll ask them to make it better, or come up with a way to make the game better, and then we'll each group will share what they think should be improved in the game, and then the class decides what the best improvement would be for next year, and you bring Timbits to them next time, or something when we're in class anyway. Some little thing like that I think works really well, but don't expect to hit the nail on the head the first time. And yeah, it's trickier than it looks, but I find it extremely rewarding when you get it right. I mean, they love it, they learn it, it just works.
I'm just thinking of the situations where that's exactly the most successful situations I've had that worked. That's what I started quite small, and then I suddenly realized this works. I think when it works, you realize quickly. I'm thinking the person's here from the nursing. I guess it's Karine. When it works, you realize very quickly that this is the right way to do it, and because you can see the interest of the students, and it's not simply the students that are the ones that sit at the front of the class that are we're going to do whatever you ask them to do. It's almost all of the students because they get intrigued by the whole thing. And particularly at this age group, you mentioned like teaching older people. With older people, like it's easier to ask them. They'll get involved. They'll do it. They'll participate. But our students, at this age group, they're kind of like, what's this all about? Some of them, anyway. And but they're very quick to grab it. And the game can be very bizarre. I'll give you an example of another one that I'm always reticent when I do it because it's kind of foolish, but it works. Is I bring Timbits to class. And I have a couple of volunteers come up to the front of the class and eat them. And they have to rate each one that as they eat them, they have to rate them, how hungry they are. And this is something, I think Ahmad will know right away what this is. It's about what we call the diminishing marginal utility. But it works, and they have to, they write the scores up on the blackboard and they write them down, and then they have an activity afterwards involved with it. And I'm always kind of scared about what's gonna happen with this thing. But it works quite well. So it could be something very simple too. But no, it's in terms of engagement as goes. As I say, the breakout room with teams, I've been less inclined to do this, and I'd like to try it a bit more because particularly with doing stuff online where students are all by themselves, so anything that gets them talking to other people, I think is a good thing. But yeah, it's well worth it. It's well worth doing it, at least trying it, but give it a lot of thought in advance before you get, doing something too complicated that just doesn't work.
About Chris, what you wrote in the chat box, I haven't. I know. I think Daniel Goldsmith has had students do some form of artistic work, which some of them gave him. If you give them choice about doing something creative, some of them would do something related to a game. So, but I don't know of any particular example. So, given the what Chris said about running your ideas with other colleagues, that's a wonderful idea, and that's partly one of the purposes of these sessions on Fridays and also other workshops. So you might want to add that to your list. Every Friday, 2:30, rain or shine, we're gonna be here. So anyway, if there are no final comments, thanks to all of you for your participation. It was a wonderful session.